Japan Travel Smart Podcast is an original standalone media project. We remain unaffiliated with any travel agency service or similar commercial venture. This is Japan Travel Smart. My name's Johnny, and I hope you join me to discover a better Japan travel experience. Welcome back to Japan Travel Smart. This is your travel companion Johnny, and this is journey number 23. 9 more tips for saving money on a Japan trip. Japan Travel Smart is a bi-weekly podcast all about the joy of travel through Japan, far and wide, from the perspective of a frequent visitor who just can't get enough of the place that does it best. I'm here to spark your curiosity and offer inspiration to experience Japan's overlooked attractions and their charms, to equip you with the tools to better approach the logistics of your trip, and an always fresh perspective on the ever-changing Japan travel landscape. Whether it's your first trip or your 50th, let's uncover the secrets that make Japan a traveler's paradise. Ready for the journey? Let's go. Back in episode 3 of JTS, which seems like forever ago, we introduced money-saving tips that you don't often hear about. We've come up with 9 more tidbits to consider that can make all the difference between keeping your budget under control and spending more than you really need to. As always, these tips draw from our practical knowledge of Japan's travel landscape, and it aims to help you stretch your yen without sacrificing on the travel experience. So let's dive in. Japan savings tip number 1. Mind this rule of thumb. The closer you are to a tourist attraction, the more you're going to pay for things. This is applicable anywhere you visit in the world, really. But here's the Japan travel spin on it. You will mainly want to avoid going to eat at or around the big tourist attractions. So in this case, it's eating at restaurants near the most touristy areas that will blow up your food budget. For example, Dotonbori in Osaka or Harajuku in Tokyo. These are places where prices are inflated, easily over 2,000 yen for just a bowl of ramen, and quality is likely to be mediocre due to tourist demand. Walk a few blocks away to local eateries or a comfort chain refuge like Yoshinoya or Skiya, where a meal costs between 500 and 800 yen. Use a specialized review app like Tabelog or your favorite maps application to look up and find highly rated, budget-friendly spots in less touristy areas. If all else fails, you can always check Konbini for quick meals when you're near these attractions. If you're visiting someplace like a mountain or a hiking area, think Mount Takao in Tokyo, you can avoid having lunch at the summit and rest areas. You can instead have your meal at a quiet restaurant at the base of the mountain near the transit station terminus. If you're at a matsuri or Japanese festival, just know that prices for food are going to be marked up. That's perfectly fine for the experience, but make sure to purchase your beverages at a konbini before entering the festival area. Japan savings tip number 2. Restaurants for lunch, konbini for dinner. Dinner is always more expensive than lunch for eating out in Japan, but there's ways to get around that. A lot of times, the very same restaurants offering a signature dining experience will also offer a comparable occasion during lunch hours, and it'll be a much better deal. Once you've confirmed the place's opening hours, be sure to look up their lunch menu or go in and inquire about set meals for lunchtime. Now, when it's time for dinner, On some nights, you may just look toward the convenience store. But don't pick up your dinner too early. Grab a microwavable meal set from the konbini or the supermarket, but wait until later in the evening to buy it. Supermarket discounts after 7 p.m. can slash prices by 30 to 50%, with sushi sets dropping to 500 yen or less. Look for the discount stickers added by the clerk to the items. Again, the food you can pick up from a Japanese convenience store is actually not that bad. This is a culturally accepted way to eat well on a budget, even for locals. And don't worry, you won't actually have to get in a fist fight to nab a marked down meal, for anyone who actually gets that reference. Japan savings tip number 3. The realist accommodation alternatives for the real Japan. Minshuku and shukubo. As long as you're out visiting rural Japan, you're already succeeding in terms of your ability to have some good savings on a trip. Stay in Minshuku or shukubo for cultural immersion on a budget. What are Minshuku? These are family-run guest houses, often seen in rural areas, offering simple rooms and home-cooked meals. What are shukubo? Shukubo are temple lodgings, found at places like Koyasan in Wakayama or Dewasanzan in Yamagata, where you can stay with the actual monks running the facilities. These places often include vegetarian meals and morning prayer activities. Both tend to be cheaper than ryokan, or traditional inns, and provide authentic experiences. Shukubo are perfect for travelers wanting to stay on the premises at tourist hotspots like Wakayama's Koyasan in the Kansai region or Yamagata's Sacred Mountains in Tohoku, for staying on site where hotels are scarce or pricey. For example, a shukubo at Koyasan should cost half of what a ryokan costs per night, with 2 meals included. Minshuku are the cheapest lodging experience in rural Japan that often include meals, and shukubo can be similarly priced and much cheaper than standard hotels in rural areas. Shukubo are tourism-focused and can easily be booked online on booking websites. On the other hand, Minshuku, the family guest houses, may not be as easy. You may need to navigate a Japanese-only website once you've found a location on your Maps app. A lot of times, Minshuku are phone-in only to book them. You may need to get a hold of a concierge style of assistance to book one for you. In any case, tourists who are supposed to be budgeting may waste money booking multiple consecutive nights at high-end ryokan for, quote, authenticity, when Minshuku and shukubo offer similar cultural experiences at half the cost. It's better to book in advance and avoid last-minute bookings, as these accommodations often require reservations weeks in advance due to limited rooms. Don't expect luxury, just embrace the simplicity to save. Japan savings tip number 4. Your obligatory skyline view of the city doesn't need to be from a crowded paid location. For some reason, tourists like to crowd the same few observation decks in Tokyo for the purpose of getting their social media shots of the city from above. Some of the most popular locations include Tokyo Tower, Tokyo Skytree, and Shibuya Sky. Not only is the admission cost high, but you may even have to deal with advanced reservations and limited time slots to spend time at the deck. It's just too much of a hassle bordering on a tourist trap. So why not instead take advantage of free observation decks at government and rail station buildings? For Tokyo, we have the iconic Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building located in West Shinjuku, completely free to go up to on either of its twin observation decks. Now, for those of you looking for a truly quiet spot to get great shots of Tokyo Skytree and Sumida on one side, and the Shinjuku skyscraper district on the opposite side, with hopes of a faint Mount Fuji view on a clear day, My personal recommendation is the Bunkyo City office near Tokyo Dome City, so be sure to check it out. If you remember from a previous episode of JTS dedicated to Osaka City, we gave a couple of suggestions for free options for this, including the Osaka Dojimahama Tower. For other cities in Japan, their main rail station buildings often offer the free view that you could be looking for. Such is the case for Fukuoka's rooftop garden at JR Hakata Station. For the city of Nagoya, head to the Marriott Hotel lobby on JR Central Tower's 15th floor. This public lobby area is called Sky Street. These locations are all perfect for travelers skipping major observation decks but still wanting panoramic views. Sometimes an eye-level view of the skyline is better than an Ansai view. I found that each city in Japan has quote-unquote secret options for city views, just like the ones mentioned. We've personally been to all of the ones brought up here. Just be sure to check opening hours on city websites, as some of these free alternatives do close early, around 5 p.m. or so. Japan savings tip number 5. Let's talk about how to soften the blow for that Shinkansen trip between Tokyo and the Kansai region. By far, the most popular bullet train trip in Japan takes you between the cities of Tokyo and Osaka, with Kyoto being the stop just prior. However, the direct Tokaido route for this trip is not covered by any regional rail pass, only by the pricey JR pass. Without plans to pick up the JR pass, or a reason to justify it, we are left with the question of if there is perhaps a way to prevent paying the full standard price for tickets for those of you who really want to use the bullet train on this route. Well, there are several options to consider, in fact. The first one is to use the SmartX app to book Shinkansen tickets in advance. If you didn't know, SmartX is JR's online booking app available to use in English. This app is one of the limited ways that allow travelers to book train tickets in advance, even if they're not in Japan yet. It's possible to find 5 to 10% advance purchase discounts on Shinkansen tickets with this method. Are you looking to score an even better deal on the Shinkansen trip between Tokyo and Osaka, even if the trip takes longer than usual? Every train on the Tokaido Shinkansen can achieve the same maximum speed on the same segments of the route, but most Shinkansen services make limited stops. That means that the services that make every stop along the route will have to take longer to get anywhere. The service on the Tokaido Shinkansen that serves every single stop is called Kodama, and it's always possible to secure discounted tickets for it. This very special deal is called Plat Kodama, available from JR Tokai Tours. Book reserved seats online and enjoy a discount of a few thousand yen per pax compared to standard fares. Finally, if you're keen to score a deal, even if there's minutes to spare for the departure, don't enter the transit station just yet. Be sure to take a look at Kinken shops for discounted train tickets. Kinken shops are ticket resellers where you can find discounted train tickets, gift cards, and vouchers at 5 to 20% below face value. These shops are often found near major stations, think Shinjuku or Osaka's Umeda, and they deal in surplus or unused tickets, including Shinkansen and limited express fares. Since overseas tourists have the benefit of traveling on a regional rail pass for most of Japan, a Kinken shop would come in handy for us, primarily for the Tokaido Shinkansen tickets. Savings are going to vary, anywhere between 500 to 2,000 yen per ticket, but a round trip adds up. Even if you can't find a deal for the bullet train, some shops also sell discounted department store vouchers, useful for souvenirs or meals. What do the Kinken shops look like? Well, they tend to be smaller estate on the street, and they're really busy on the lettering, making them easy to recognize. Japan savings tip number 6. Volunteer guides are a thing in Japan, and they're usually pretty good. This tip will be particularly useful for those of you looking to experience rural travel in Japan. You should be able to book a free volunteer interpreter for an immersive experience, but without the expected premium for a travel guide. The Japan National Tourism Organization and local university volunteer programs offer free interpreter services for tourists in rural areas. Think regions like in Shikoku or Tohoku to help navigate language barriers at no cost. These are often arranged via email or by going to a tourist office. Use free walking tours led by volunteers, or check local tourism boards for festival schedules, which are often posted online. For website suggestions on tracking down events in Japan, refer to the JTS podcast episode on our favorite websites for planning our Japan trips. Even if you're visiting a touristy area in a remote part of Japan, such as Tottori sand dunes or a large summer festival, this free service will be great to have wherever English signage is minimal and hiring a guide would otherwise cost 10,000 yen or more. Volunteers are great because they also share local tips and they know the cheap eateries and can also take you to free events. It's important that these opportunities to see a volunteer are set up well in advance. Don't skip the real Japan due to language fears. A volunteer will be better than a translation app in remote areas, as they'll be able to cover you in situations where local dialects are spoken, and for sorting out complex interactions. Start by looking into goodwill guides from the Japan National Tourism Organization, and remember to book volunteers early, as availability is limited. Japan savings tip number 7. Travel essentials, souvenirs, don't leave them to the last-minute airport purchase. Purchasing souvenirs like trinkets or purchasing snacks at places like Kiyomizu-dera in Kyoto or Asakusa in Tokyo will have you seeing prices 2 to 3 times higher than elsewhere. Buying last-minute souvenirs at airports like Narita and Kansai puts us at a definitive disadvantage, because items like Japan-exclusive Kit Kats or omiyage like Tokyo Banana cost 20 to 50% more at airports than in city stores. Instead, I recommend you to shop at Japan's internationally famous 100 yen stores, not to mention that one extremely famous variety store that has a blue penguin mascot. That's a much better location to stock up on those matcha and strawberry Kit Kats. You can also be on the lookout for local markets in town for affordable souvenirs. The 100 yen stores carry toiletries, travel adapters, things like disposable slippers for my large foreigner feet. Anything neat you could find at a tourist shop, you can also just come and buy at a 100 yen store. I often see tourists buying overpriced travel gear at airports and souvenirs close to popular tourist areas. Just visit a 100 yen store on your first day to grab essentials, and again on your last day for small gifts, saving hundreds of yen per item. Japan savings tip number 8. Scrap the expensive online experiences and workshops for tourists. Join local community center classes for free or for low-cost cultural experiences. Community centers are called kominkan in Japan, found in cities and towns, and they offer low-cost or free workshops on the tea ceremony, calligraphy, traditional crafts. You get the idea. These are often aimed at locals, but open to foreigners with basic Japanese or a translator app. These are rarely advertised to tourists. We would recommend these experiences for travelers staying longer in one place, something like a week in Kyoto or Fukuoka, and wanting an authentic cultural immersion without the tourist prices. For example, a tea ceremony at a community center might cost 500 yen versus 3,000 at a tourist venue. You can potentially save thousands of yen compared to commercial cultural experiences. You can check local city websites if you've set up the translate website feature of your browser. Or alternatively, ask at tourist information centers about kominkan events when you arrive at your city of choice. Tourists overspend on private cultural workshops or tourist traps like samurai experiences for more than 10,000 yen. Well, okay, I'll admit I booked one of these samurai dress-up ones on my first visit to Japan, and it was a pretty cool experience too. And avoid booking through international tour agencies that inflate prices. Japan savings tip number 9. I promise you've never heard these quick tips from anywhere else. Find and use coin lockers off the station, on the street. Japan Railways has raised the costs for using their coin lockers across the board at all stations. So stick it to them by heading off the station premises and onto the street to find coin lockers starting at 300 yen in Tokyo. I was ready to tell you that there are 100 yen coin lockers out here in Tokyo. I've seen them. But as of 2025, those may have become the stuff of legends. You can find inexpensive street coin locker locations by looking up the search term coin locker on your favorite maps application. Now, I can't say it's thrilling to talk about doing your laundry in Japan, but we got tips. Plan your laundry dates so that you know that the hotel you're staying at for the day has self-service coin laundry machines available. Unceremoniously throw your clothes in the machine and forget about it for the next 40 minutes or so. Most coin laundry machines at hotels automatically apply detergent and softener, so you don't need to purchase additional detergent for these machines. The dryers also tend to be stronger and in better shape than machines from the street businesses, so you'll save some coins having to spend less of them for drying time. And finally, I realize this is going to make me sound very stingy, but there's no need to be too generous at Shinto shrines. What I mean by that is that it's perfectly fine to throw lower denomination coins in the offering box rather than high denomination coins. Now, the 5 yen coins, which are the gold ones with the hole on them, are the lucky ones to use anyway. Also, if you're visiting a large shrine or large temple complex, there will be many locations and mini shrines to also make prayer offerings, so you'd want to be able to afford to make offerings to all of the gods, so long as you keep the offerings small. Remember, it's the thought that counts. Now, if you really want to support the shrine, just be sure to obtain something in return. Buy Omamori. These are shrine amulets, an incense stick, or a fortune slip from the shrine maiden at the window. Keep buying fortune slips until A. You get excellent luck, B. You run out of money, or C. You simply give up and go to tie up your omikuji on a tree. And that's going to be 9 more tips to save money on a trip to complement our early episode on the same subject. Remember that any special terms brought up on today's episode of the podcast will be listed in the show notes for your convenience. Whenever any of these tips has proven useful to you during your trip, be sure to pat yourself on the back and bask in your ability to be shrewd and resourceful on a trip to Japan. Experienced Japan travelers, do you have any savings tips of your own? Share them with us by adding a comment on Spotify or on our social media post for this episode. You can find links for them in the show notes. That's all we have time for today, but we'll be back soon with another episode to focus on an in-depth look of yet another unique region in Japan. Until then, my name's Johnny, and I'm signing off with your reminder to, above all, be smart, and everything else will fall in place.